Your screen might not be arranged exactly like this. When your screen opens up, typically the properties palette is over here. Because I'm working at a kind of a smaller resolution, I literally dragged the title of the properties palette to the left there. If you don't see the property palette here on the home on the view tab and under user interface, you can see that you can turn on and off the properties and the other object with the project browser, which is this area here. If you ever get lost, go view user interface and you can turn on the display of these things. So your screen should look something like what I've got here. The function behind this that's called the project browser is that this is how you navigate your way around the drawing. So in other words, if I am looking at floor plan level 1, if I double click on that, or if I double click on level 2, you can see that I'm kind of moving up through the project to look at different floor plans of my model. A very common mistake when you're drafting is, because the names might be the same here, is that you want to be careful that when you say you're going to draw on level 1 floor plan, that you haven't accidentally picked level 1 ceiling plan, because the ceiling plans are kind of looking up the way in your project in terms of the areas that are being displayed, and it's you'll get a message. If I tried to place a wall in the ceiling plan, it would tell me that the wall's not visible in this view. Usually the user mistake is that that's the level. It should be a floor plan level 1 that I'm placing walls in. Other things like 3D views can be saved, and then you can click on them to return to those views. You see that you can click through a few of those and you'll see these are, think of it as all of these are really like cameras looking at the database from different positions, and by picking on it you're just choosing to say, well, you know, show me the north elevation, show me the south elevation. You go into a camera, you're not going to a different drawing. Even sections, you're cutting through the building, but you're not going to a different drawing. There are some shortcuts, like for example, if I see a section and I click on the section head, it'll move me to the section view. When I make renderings of my building, I can choose to save them, so I can use this for presentation purposes and show people what the inside of my building actually looks like. And even things like legends and schedules will do some to show you that you have them in a model. The families thing here, the families category, is all of the different components that you've got in your building, and you see that if I click on the contract, so that you can expand or contract the tree views within the browser by doing that. And then if you wanted to view something, I could say go to 3D views, show me the fireplace view, or I could say go to floor plan level 2 because I want to draft on level 2. That's the function of the browser, and it's really useful to keep it up there. Now if you're on the floor plan and you select something, you'll see here on the properties palette it tells me all about the object that I've selected. This is a basic wall. It's drawn at the base of the wall is on level 1, the top of the wall goes up to level 2, but then it's also offset a certain height above level 2. But I'll explain a bit more about that. But basically it's the notion that you can pick any object that's in your project, and it will show you the properties of that object, and then you can edit it in here. So the last parts of this would be, if say I go to a 3D view, this here is called my screen area. It's usually where you're drafting. In the screen area, these are controls to minimize, maximize and cancel the view. This is my view cube. In fact, if I go to the what I'd mentioned before was you probably use this view a lot. You can select on this to rotate it, or you can, on the view cube, spin it around the axis like that. I'm going to suggest that if you're in a view and you hold the Shift key down and then you drag the center button, that's the quickest way of being able to turn and look at the view from any position that you want. So that was the Shift key down, and then hold down on the center button on your mouse and turn it. It's a lot faster than clicking on these actual controls. Last part here are the visibility options. For example, you can decide what kind of level of detail you want to look at the model in. I'll explain more on that later. You can explain the visual style. For example, I could say show it shaded or show it with realistic materials. These are options to avoid me having to render to see materials in my model. They were added in those realistic options were added in version 2011. Some more things up here. That's the render command, which you'd also seen up here. So there's duplication because different people work in different ways, and you get some choices. These options here are temporary hide or isolate commands. So these are not for plotting, but these are for controlling the display of objects in a view. So the option might be that I'm looking at the building, I select the topography, and then I come down here with the spectacles option and say hide the category, meaning hide all topography that's in the project, and it's gone from here. And then I could look at my other options, say shaded with edges, and go in and take a look at my model like that. When you want to go back to this where you have everything in the view, you'd say reset. So the thing to remember about this is that this is a screen display. This is not about composing a view for plotting. This is only about controlling what you see on the screen as you work. Last part of the interface is down here, which is really like a status bar. It'll give you additional information if you're in a command. So for example, if I say I'm placing a wall, it'll tell me, what it's looking for. It wants me to click the start part of the wall, click the end part of the wall. It's not visible in the view, and that's you're going to get this message. So let me just kind of leave it at that. I will point out that sometimes when you read a book about Revit, let me go back and do this in a floor plan, it'll say something like this, click the wall command, place the wall, and then it'll say something like click modify. And the modify is really just a way of saying cancel the command. Click on another command so that you exit the wall command. You can do the same thing if you're placing a wall and you're finished with the command if you hit the escape key. And if you hit the escape key twice, you're sure of getting out of anything that you were in. So my technique in drafting is often to draw, and then when you finish with the command escape to get out. To remove things from my drawing, I'm just going to hold the control key and select them and then hit the delete key. So I'm back to where I was before I drew those walls. These other options about work sets and about phasing or design options I'm not going to explain in the getting started. It's more of an advanced topic. So let's get started with the project.